Hey everybody, welcome to ARE Live. I'm Mark Tier, the founder and CEO here at Black Spectacles. I'm joined with our producer Patrick Finnegan and architect Garric Baker, who's going to review several practice exam mock questions today. I'm sorry, practice management mock exam questions. We're going to go through questions that cover PCM knowledge and skills related to essential project insurance and policyholders, some of the most common legal setups for architecture firms, who's responsible for damages in specific cases, how to reduce legal risks with new developers, and the architect's responsibility in consultant coordination disputes. So it's going to be a really good, meaty episode today. You'll get a nice range of topics. If you're joining us here for the first time, Black Spectacles is the leader in ARE prep. We work with learning scientists and architects to ensure you're studying the right content and that you'll remember it so you pass on the first try. We've built everything that you need to pass the exams, including new video lectures with motion graphics and 3D animations, practice exams that are as close to the real thing as you can get, flashcards, quizzes, and virtual workshops. And they're all built upon a curriculum that ensures you're learning the right content, and they all work together with our custom-built platform to ensure that you remember the information for the exams. It's why our pass rates are 50% higher than the national average, and why our members report passing in half the time of the national average. If you want to learn more, visit blackspectacles.com. And if you're ready to start studying, stick around to the end so you can take advantage of our discount for individual memberships. Over on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, we regularly post mock exam questions throughout the course of the month. Every day for the most part. So if you don't already follow us, I'd suggest that you do. We're at let me start over. We're at black.spectacles on Instagram and TikTok, and just Black Spectacles on Facebook. Our next ARE Live will be September 18th of 2024, where we'll be covering a PA mock exam. And I'd recommend that you just go straight to blackspectacles.com/podcast to sign up right now. That way, at least you'll receive the recording if you can't make it, but it'll help you stay on track with your studies. There's a couple of referral programs I want to mention that we offer. So first, we offer a referral program for firms and schools where all you have to do is introduce us to your boss or whomever is in charge of HR. And if they sign up, we'll give you a $250 gift card. So to participate, follow the instructions on blackspectacles.com/group-referral. It's super easy. I mean, I think literally all you have to do is email introduce us, and you'll, if your firm signs up, you get $250 gift card. We also offer a refer a friend program. We've offered this for a while, but it's been kind of hidden, so we've been doing some things to make sure you can see it a lot better. But the way it works is you'll receive a customized discount code to save your friend 15% off any membership, and then you receive a $50 gift card of your choice when they redeem. You can learn more about it at blackspectacles.com/referral. Today we're going to be engaging exclusively on our online ARE community. So head over to community.blackspectacles.com, and then right at the top you'll see we pinned a thread. It's called ARE Live PCM Mock Exam August 2024. If you have any questions as we're going through ARE Live today, post your question there and we'll answer your questions. And everyone who posts in that thread today will be eligible to win a free Black Spectacles t-shirt. Literally all you have to do is go over to community.blackspectacles.com and say hi, and then boom, you're registered. Of course, don't forget to stay tuned until the end of the episode to see if you've won. A quick note about our ARE community. We recently launched a new podcast called Licensure Stories, which you can find on the community. It's also on our YouTube channel, and we've published it on your favorite podcasting services as well. And it's awesome. I get the opportunity to interview recently licensed architects to learn about their struggles and their successes, so you can learn how they did it. I found that, it's awesome. Like some people, they tell a story. Yeah, I studied for 2 weeks and then I passed all 6 exams, in 12 weeks. And then there's other stories where people are talking about how, it took them 12 years to get through all the exams. So there's some really inspiring and instructive stories about how they got through the exam. So I'd certainly encourage you to check them out. So with that, I'd love to welcome today's guest, Garric Baker. In addition to working with us here at Black Spectacles, Garric is an architect based in Kansas. Welcome, Garric.
Yes, good afternoon, Mark. Thanks for having me back again.
Happy to have you, buddy.
Okay, so as Mark mentioned, we've got a few pretty in-depth topics today, and a lot of it's going to be focusing on business structures, insurance policies, and things like mitigating any kind of claims or anything like that against your firms. Um, just here within our office, we always say that you need three people to help run your business. You need an accountant, an attorney, and a banker. So we're going to see some instances here where if you do choose to go out like on your own, or maybe you're buying into another firm or something like that, we always say go out, discuss these items with your attorney, talk to your accountant about tax liability, but then also a banker in case you need any kind of funding options there. So with that, we'll kind of dive in right now and start going over some of these topics. Okay, so our first question here: provided are 5 common types of insurance needed during the lifespan of a project. So describe each and indicate who needs to purchase a policy. So our first one that we have here is our general liability insurance. This type of insurance protects property, equipment, work product, and people against damage or loss. And actually, Patrick, if you want to go ahead and reveal that, we'll kind of go through this. So all three parties, the owner, architect, and contractor, need to purchase this policy. And oftentimes, this policy is also called P&C, or property and casualty insurance. Now, each one of these will have their own individual policies, and here's why. So the owner carries this insurance to protect their own office, visitors to their office that might include the architect and the contractor. An example would be if a contractor arrived at the owner's office and slipped and fell on a wet floor and broke his or her arm. P&C insurance would cover any medical costs and financial damages. And then the architect and contractor both purchased this policy for the same reasons. If a natural disaster, such as a flood, damages equipment, such as drafting computers, or anything like that, the same insurance policy covers the replacement of the property. So then let's go ahead and reveal our second one here, professional liability insurance. This protects against things like errors in omission, so it's often called E&O insurance. The architect is the only party that purchases this because it will defend and pay against claims brought by an owner for issues caused by the architect. The owner and contractor are only following the direction of the architect and relying on the construction documents, guidance, and expertise of the architect, and thus do not need to purchase this type of policy. Next, we have our workers' compensation insurance. So all three parties purchase workers' comp insurance. This provides funding for wages, medical bills, and financial damages of employees injured while on the job. Examples would include paying medical bills for an owner's employee that is injured while delivering material samples to the contractor at a job site and the employee is found to be at fault. If an architectural intern trips on a power cord for a plotting machine or a computer and sprains an ankle, the medical bills will then be covered. And if a laborer is struck by rolling scaffolding being pushed by another employee, their medical bills are covered. So typically, contractors' workers' compensation policies are quite expensive due to the nature of their work when compared to architects or the owners who may spend a majority of their working hours in controlled environments. So if the architect is a sole proprietor or if the owner is an individual, they're not required to carry the workers' compensation. If the architect or owner are injured, then their personal insurance covers that cost. And then our fourth type here is business automobile insurance. Oftentimes, we need to travel for our professions, to and from job sites, delivering materials, driving clients or consultants, and protection is needed in the form of business automobile liability insurance. If anyone is injured while you're executing a business function in a vehicle, the automobile insurance policy. So all three parties will carry their own policy. And the next is our builder's risk insurance. Just like the architects and their professional liability insurance, the contractor needs protection for the construction of the project. So this is done through the builder's risk insurance. However, if we look at this policy in terms of why it's needed, the contractor would not need the policy unless the owner needs the project. Therefore, the contractor carries the policy, but the owner pays for it. An example for how this policy is utilized: if a project is well underway and a thunderstorm passes over it with lightning striking the project, causing it to catch fire, the policy will cover any losses incurred. This example actually happened, but it was found that the fire was actually caused by arson, so that nullified that insurance policy. But um, just kind of a real world example of how all of these are used. Okay, so let's hop into our second worksheet here. What are the top 5 most prevalent legal structures for architectural businesses? And our answer is general partnership, limited liability partnership or an LLP, subchapter S corporation or sub S, professional corporation, and limited liability corporation. Okay, so again, whenever a group of individuals or a single person wants to begin an architecture firm, they can establish what is known as a general partnership. In this method, the owners are then called partners, and there can be an unlimited number of partners in the arrangement. Most, if not all of the partners, will need to be licensed within the jurisdiction the firm is established, and each of the partners will pay taxes due to the state or jurisdiction it is established. The partnership will file a federal tax return for the business, but whenever taxes are due or returned, the funds are provided by or go directly to the partners. With this structure, the partnership acts as an intermediary between any claims and the partner's personal assets. A claim can be brought against the firm, but not against the individual. So how it works. We have an example where we have 3 partners, all with equal ownership. This means that if the company owes additional taxes, the funds come from the company's assets, such as cash on hand or reserve accounts, and are divided evenly between the partners. We can think of it as the company owing $1,000 in additional taxes, but each partner only pays $333 from their share of the assets. If the company generates $1,000 in profits, the owners are entitled to $333 each, according to the percentage owned. And if you want more information on this, I would recommend looking at the Architect's Handbook of Professional Practice and going to page 200, and that will give you much further in-depth detail there. Next, we'll also look at the limited liability partnership. So this operates very similarly to the general partnership, but adds additional security for the partner's personal assets, which is where we get the name of limited liability. An unlimited number of partners can own the firm, but most, if not all, need to be licensed. Again, our taxing structure is the same as the general partnership, in that the LLP files a federal tax return, but the individual partners are responsible for paying the income tax. Our example is much like the general partnership, but we learned that in all the different models, the percentages owned can vary. For this example, we have 3 owners. One has less ownership than the others. Therefore, they owe less when it comes to their taxes or receives less when it comes to returns. The LLP can also pay the taxes as a business itself, which in turn dilutes the profits shared by the owners. Either way, taxes are paid, whether through the LLP or through the owners. In terms of liability, the partner's personal assets are protected because they are performing duties under the auspices of the firm or partnership. The partnership carries liability insurance on behalf of the owners and staff. And again, you can see all of this in your Handbook of Professional Practice, and that's going to be on page 200. In discussing the subchapter S, so again, our firm structure for, I'm just going to say sub S, is similar to an LLP or general partnership, but in this instance, there are shares or stocks provided by the company. Each owner can then purchase shares or stocks and become a stockholder in the company. Most states regulate these types of corporations to fewer than 100 employees. Passive owners, possibly retired founders, can retain stock in the company so long as they retain their license. These passive owners may not be on the payroll of the company, but due to their tenure and share ownership are entitled to profits and losses of the company. So our example is similar in ownership percentages, which can vary depending on level of investment. But when it comes to tax filings, the stockholders are the ones paying income tax. The government views income generated through the sub-S corporation as personal income for the stockholders, and thus the firm will file a federal income tax, but the stockholders will be the ones responsible for paying. In terms of liability, the corporation is the one responsible for carrying professional liability insurance and thus protects the personal assets of the owners. Then moving down to our professional corporation, this mirrors much like the sub-S corporation in nearly all aspects. However, this structure isn't allowed in all states. So depending on your state, you may incorporate as a professional corporation or a subchapter S. It serves as an either-or type of structure, so always check with your accountant and attorneys as well as the state regulations where you plan to start or operate your business. And again, all of this, Architect's Handbook of Professional Practice on page 200. And then finally, we have our limited liability corporation. Rather than being established as a partnership, a limited liability corporation can create the business entity where members can purchase shares or stocks in the company itself, like with our subchapter S and professional corporations. So the LLC will file the income tax returns and pay on behalf of the members, some of which may not be licensed, and then dilutes the profits gained by the owners or the LLC, may pass the full profit amount to the owners, and then become responsible for paying the income tax. So the liability for this firm structure lies with the corporation, adding a layer of safety between any claims and the owner's personal assets. And this one is actually on page 201. Okay, so now that we kind of know what our insurance policies are and our different firm structures that we can have, let's put these into use. So Patrick, let's hop over to question number 3 here.
And as we do that, Garric, that was a great one, by the way. Just noting to everyone, hey, if you guys have questions, we're over in the ARE community. If you throw a question in there, then I'll lob it up to Garric during the session. So feel free, and please continue, Garric.
Alrighty, thank you. Okay, so we're going to determine who is responsible for paying damages in certain claim situations. So the general partnership is sued for an error and is found to be liable. Who pays the damages? So the answer, the partners are generally protected individually because the company itself has purchased professional liability, or like we said, the E&O insurance. So the more errors or omissions that a firm makes, the higher their premiums become. This is why it's always important to double check your work, follow all codes and regulations, as well as maintain a low claim rate against your firm. If the partners don't carry this E&O insurance, the company's assets will be required to cover damages, and in the instance the company cannot cover the full damage, then the owner's personal assets are then considered. Okay, so let's take a look at number 2 here. The LLP has an employee slip and fall while in the office. Who pays for the damages? So our answer here, because we carry workers' compensation insurance, the policy will pay any medical expenses, cover lost wages, or any other financial damages suffered by the employee. If the company does not carry workers' compensation, the partnership can be sued, and the owner's personal assets may be considered if the partnership's assets don't cover the full costs. Remember, the liability protections here are limited. Number 3, the sub-S corporation has an employee hit a parked car while on their way to a job site. Who pays for the damages? So our answer is, by carrying business automobile insurance, the damages are covered through the insurance policy. So if the damages exceed the payout amounts, the corporation may be litigated or sued. But due to the incorporation, the owner's personal assets are then protected. If the company does not carry business automobile insurance, the corporation can be sued, but the individual stockholders cannot. Okay, then the fun one here. Number 4, the corporation is sued for fraud and is found guilty. Who pays the damages? So our answer is, don't commit fraud. So if an organization is found to be committing fraud, penalties will be applied to the corporation, which can be monetary in terms of what they call disgorgement, the act of paying back profits from your ill-gotten gains with or without interest or even additional penalties, or in severe cases, dissolution of the company altogether. Individuals committing fraud will have their licenses suspended or even revoked, suffer legal consequences, as well as undergo ethics reviews by boards of technical professions and the AIA if they are a member. So in any instance, insurance policies will likely become void, leaving the owners to be the responsible party. So please don't do it. Okay, then number 5, the LLC is working on a project that is damaged during a hurricane. Who pays for the damages? So the LLC is entirely protected against any damages caused by a natural disaster to a project under construction. This is because the LLC or architect is not a party to any of the construction contracts. However, the project does need some insurance coverage, which is then provided through a builder's risk policy. Either the owner or the contractor has the policy, but the owner is paid the premiums either directly or as a cost to the project. So I'll give a brief summary here of these first 3 questions. We learned about the different ways that an architect and firm can protect themselves against claims. And then in the second question and worksheet, we reviewed different ways in which a firm can be structured to best suit the owners and their personal objectives. So regardless of firm structure, the firm will need to purchase all of the determined insurance policies to protect that owner's investments. So in our third question here, we applied our knowledge of coverages and our different structures to work through some potential claims. Concepts such as these help protect your investments made by architects in business. The structure selected by the owner is to financially safeguard the investment, while the insurance also protects against potential losses.
I do not see any questions, so you're doing a good job.
Awesome.
Explaining this very clearly. Again, anyone, if you got anything, we're in the post that's at the top of community.blackspectacles.com. If you got any questions, drop them in. Thank you.
Yeah, and a lot of this is pretty in-depth information here, so well, try and wake everybody up here. Okay, so let's hop over to question number 4 then. So you are introduced to a developer that you have never worked with before. The developer would like to construct 3 apartment complexes, all similar in design. The developer has a list of consultants that he has used previously, but wants to use a local architectural firm to help navigate local requirements. Due to a lack of previous experience with the developer, the firm wants to mitigate any potential legal exposure. So our question is, how should the architect proceed? Is it going to be A, follow a standard procedure of contracting with the developer and then providing individual contracts to the consultants? B, determine that due to the lack of knowledge of the developer and their consultants, decline to partner on the project and focus on existing clients? Or is it C, recommend that the developer enter into separate agreements with all consultants and your firm? Okay, so our answer is C. So recommend that the developer enter into separate agreements with all of the consultants and your firm. So this one is our correct answer. By having the developer sign contracts with each individual consultant and architect, the architect is no longer liable for the consultant's errors. This greatly reduces the legal exposure and allows the architect to only be liable for their mistakes only. If we look at some of our incorrect answers here, so follow a standard procedure of contracting with the developer and then providing individual contracts to the consultants. So this one's incorrect. While this sounds reasonable, there are better methods to help lessen any legal exposure. So as we saw in option C. Option B, determine that due to the lack of knowledge of the developer and their consultants, decline to partner on the project and focus on existing clients. So this one's incorrect as well. Our firms always look to take on new clients, and we cannot have experience with all of them. So if we pass on every new client, we would never grow our business. So again, that leaves us with C and helps us protect our firm as we enter into that project. Okay, so we'll go ahead and wrap up with question number 5 now. Once the project is underway, it's found that the pad-mounted transformer is in conflict with a retaining wall designed by the civil engineer. the developer incurs $500,000 in fees to redesign the retaining wall and drainage to a different location and implement the changes. The developer is bringing a claim against the architect stating that the architect failed to coordinate all of the consultant's work. So assuming that the developer and architect signed a typical B101 agreement and the developer contracted directly with the consultants, is the architect liable? Our answer here is no. So due to the selection that we made in question 4, the architect is only responsible for their actions, not the actions of the consultants. So furthermore, if we actually look at some of the language in our B101, here's why. So 3.1.2, the architect shall coordinate its services with those services provided by the owner and the owner's consultants. The architect shall be entitled to rely on and shall not be responsible for the accuracy, completeness, and timeliness of services and information furnished by the owner and the owner's consultants. The architect shall provide prompt written notice to the owner if the architect becomes aware of any error, omission, or inconsistency in such services or information. So this specific section allows the architect to rely on the developer rather than the developer relying solely on the architect. This shows why the separation of the contracts, especially with new clients and consultants, provides for legal protection for the architect. So in summary, we learned in the first 3 questions the best way to protect the individual stockholders or partners of an architectural firm through the legal structures. The insurance policies we purchase to protect the investment made in the firm. And then the contracting methods and risk mitigation reviewed in the final 2 questions help ensure that the insurance policies aren't needed regularly. So this helps keep insurance premiums low, reducing costs for the owners, and making sure that the owners retain profits due in part to their knowledge of their industry. So all of these different aspects are important in operating a healthy business and maintaining the health, safety, and welfare of all involved in the projects that the business facilitates. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Mark.
All right, man. Well, thank you, Garric. I appreciate you and all the work you put into this today. Thank you, as always, for helping to support the architecture community.
Of course, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So our next, and by the way, I don't see any extra questions, so I think we're in good shape. So we'll move to close here. So our next ARE Live will be on September 18th of 2024. We'll be covering PA for our mock exam. You can go to blackspectacles.com/podcast to register. And I'd certainly encourage that you do because you'll at least get the recording if you go ahead and register right away. If you're joining us for the first time, Black Spectacles is a leader in ARE prep. We work with learning scientists and architects to ensure you're studying the right content and that you remember it so that you pass the exams on the first try. Over on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, we regularly post mock exam questions. I just saw that we got about 10 new followers today, right after I mentioned this earlier. So who knows, maybe we'll get 10 more. On Instagram, let's see, what are we? We're at @blackspectacles on Instagram and TikTok, and then we're at Black Spectacles on Facebook. So I'd encourage you to hop over there real quick and follow so that you'll get all of our posts. 2 referral programs that we have that I want to mention. We offer a referral program for firms and schools. All you have to do is introduce us to your boss or your HR leader. And if your firm signs up, you will earn a $250 gift card. Super easy. All you really have to do is email intro us. And we'll take it from there. blackspectacles.com/group-referral is where you can learn more. And then we also offer a refer a friend program where you can sign up to receive a customized discount code to save your friend 15% off any membership. And then you receive a $50 gift card of your choice when they redeem. And you can do this over and over and over and over and over and over again, and you get a bunch of $50 gift cards. So I'd certainly encourage you to do that. blackspectacles.com/referral to participate. Congratulations to SG Hodke, I think. You posted on our ARE community today, and you just won a free Black Spectacles t-shirt. My apologies if I mispronounced that. We'll reach out via email to get your size and shipping information, so we'll be in touch soon. Just a reminder, if you'd like to be eligible to win a free t-shirt, just post a question that you might have, or even say hello on our topic in the community during our next ARE Live. And I always like to remember folks that our community is always active. It's not for just ARE Live. It's a place where you can ask technical questions. We have licensed architects who will provide very competent technical answers. Or if you're just looking for support, ideas, and so forth as you're going through the exams, it's a great place to check out. In fact, it's worth noting we just about 2 months ago launched a new podcast called Licensure Stories, which you can find in our ARE community. It's also on our YouTube channel and or your favorite podcasting service. It's cool. I get to interview recently licensed architects to learn about their struggles and successes so you can learn how they did it. Again, super helpful stories of perseverance and stories of expertise and great tactics and so forth. So certainly recommend you check it out. Again, it's on our ARE community, YouTube, and podcast services. So it's on Apple and Google and Spotify. If you're joining us for the first time, as I mentioned, Black Spectacles is a leader in ARE prep. And as a thank you for coming today, we'd like to offer you 15% off any membership with the code PcM LIVE15, which is valid until September 17th of 2024. Finally, be sure to stick around for a few minutes to take our survey and share any suggestions that you may have. I promise we read every word that you write and use them to tune our next episodes. Thanks for tuning in.